folks, Van Prepper here, the Cheapskate Survivalist, and I want to talk to you today a little bit about the immigration problem or the refugee problem that we have on our southern border. I want to tell you a secret that your government is not going to tell you. This is a manufactured event. About a year ago, the Senate passed comprehensive immigration reform. That's code word for amnesty. They're going to make people whose initial act into coming into this country was to break the law and reward them for that action. Now, the House has not been able to put amnesty through. They've tried to take it up several times. It's not going to work, especially in this election cycle. So they're not going to touch it. Now, that having been said, before the election cycle, the Democrats very much want to put some sort of immigration bill through the House. They want to get something through. So, a few weeks back, Chuck Schumer, Harry Reid, the usual list of useful idiots, including President Obama, started to issue statements, and they sat down together. This wasn't some random thing, and they all started to throw out this 6-week number. In 6 weeks, if the House hasn't passed an immigration reform bill to send to the Senate, then we are going to, the president is going to have to take executive action. And what's happening here, this whole thing that's going on at the southern border is an orchestrated event. 60,000 kids don't just show up and get through 2,000 miles through the country of Mexico from a country other than Mexico, where most of these are supposedly coming through. You don't just wander 60,000 children through one of the most hostile environments and one of the most hostile physical nations on the face of the planet, with sex and drug trafficking galore going on through here. It's a frigging war zone at our southern border, and yet these kids are showing up en masse and unharmed. This is an event that is orchestrated to facilitate the executive action that's going to take place on immigration reform, because they can't pass it through legal means, which is by making new law. The president is just going to make this up and use authority which he does not have under the Constitution, but has shown continually that he is willing to use authority that is not granted him under the Constitution, to go outside of the separation of powers and usurp power for himself and to make this happen. Now, I'm going to include a couple of articles in the link to this. The first is about an article about the immigration reform and the 6-week deadline that's been kicked around a lot. The other is an article that's going to be talking about this flood of immigration that's been, the flood of illegal immigrants on the southern border that's been taking place. I urge you, step outside the box, quit believing what the media tells you, quit believing what the politicians tell you, because everything they say is a lie anyway, and take a look for yourself and put these two things together and come to the logical conclusion that the flood of children that is coming across the border is to tug at the heartstrings of the American citizens and say, we have to act, we must do something. This isn't coming from a guy who hates anybody, who dislikes people based on the color of their skin. That's nonsense. I love everyone. But I don't think you reward people whose initial act in coming into the nation is breaking the law. Secure the border first, and we can talk about how to deal with the people that are already here. If you want, round up the people that came illegally, send them all back, and let everybody that's waiting in line fairly come through, and we'll take the exact same number that we send back that are waiting to come through by legal means, and let them all come through. This is not anything to do with any sort of prejudice, although I'm sure it's going to be spun that way. This is to do with logical and common sense. If my first act in anything was to break the law, people aren't going to reward me for that, and it doesn't make sense that they would. So please, step outside the box, think for yourself, and help set brush fires of freedoms in the mind of men. I'm Van Prepper, and as always, happy shooting, everybody.